In the room, we have apologies. We have apologies from Councillor Bradley, apologies from Councillor Brogan. Councillor Brown is online. Apologies from Councillor Kalikas. We have Councillor Cowan online. Councillor Cowie is in the room. Councillor Fulton is online. I'm not seeing Councillor Lennon. I'll just check to see if he's joined remotely. And he's not in the meeting. We have Councillor Loudon online. Councillor Nugent is here as the chair. Councillor Ray is here in person, as is Councillor Margaret Walker, and we have a number of officers in the meeting as well. Thank you. I'll hand over to the chair.
Great, thanks, Lynn. Okay, do we have any declarations of interest? Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, I'll move them as the correct record then. Can I have a seconder, please? Can I have a seconder for the minutes? Thanks, Margaret. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to item 3 on the agenda, items for noting, and it's a presentation from Routes to Work South, and we've got Stephen Barr and Nicola McNaughton joining us today. Thank you.
I'm Stephen Barr, Routes to Work South. I'm accompanied today by colleagues Nicola McNaughton, Deputy Chief Executive of Routes to Work South, and Douglas Hashigan, Employability Manager at South Lanarkshire Council. For anyone not familiar with Routes to Work South, we deliver services on behalf of South Lanarkshire Council. We also deliver services by securing income from other sources to the benefit of South Lanarkshire residents and businesses. The most recent one is Fair Start Scotland, which is the Welfare to Work programme that the Scottish Government started several years ago. We are one of only 2 organisations who are incorporated within South Lanarkshire Accounts, the other being South Lanarkshire Leisure, and we deliver a range of services on behalf of the Council to South Lanarkshire residents and businesses. I'm going to hand over to Nicola and Douglas to go through in a bit more detail the work and the services that the company delivers.
Thank you. If everyone's okay, I'll just kick off then. Obviously, as Stephen has touched on, we have been delivering services on behalf of South Lanarkshire Council for many years. Established in 2005, Routes to Work South is a registered charity and an arm's length organisation of South Lanarkshire Council. We've been delivering those services for just shy of 20 years to South Lanarkshire residents. And as Stephen has highlighted, we bring with that many benefits because of our status. And I will touch on that at a later point through added value. We simply deliver our services by focusing on 5 key objectives. As part of our Articles of Association, we are committed to alleviating poverty, and we do that through the achievement of the key objectives that are listed in the slide above for you to take note of. As an organisation, Routes to Work South has a very clear vision and mission, which is achieved through the delivery of inclusive person-centred services, quite aptly ensuring no one is left behind. I mentioned it, as did Stephen, as he opened around added value, and as an organisation we continue to provide significant added value to South Lanarkshire Council and its local residents. And as you can see from the attached, in the last 10 years we have generated 30+ million for the local economy. I'm not going to take you through all of the statistics, but I think it's important just to highlight a couple of them. The one in the top right-hand corner, each year we provide savings of over £500,000 to the council. As a charity, we retain the lease for the CTEC building in Cambuslang. The rateable value of that property is around £300,000, which obviously the council would assume responsibility for. But as a charity, we get rate relief. And obviously, as part of the lease, we are responsible for the upkeep of the property, for the investment in the facility. So that is just an example of the types of savings that we provide the council every year. Similarly, the statistic in the middle, securing over 9 million in new and additional services, I think that's really important to highlight. Over the years, we've been able to access funding through DWP, through Skills Development Scotland, through primes for Fair Start Scotland, such as Remploy, and through things like Big Lottery. And this is all funding that the council would otherwise be unable to access. So it's actually benefiting the residents of South Lanarkshire. In terms of making a difference, Roots to Work South has been making a difference to the residents of the wards that all the elected members serve for the duration of its existence. But in the last 10 years, you can see from the slide that we've provided support to over 19,000 local people. But probably most importantly is a statistic in the bottom left-hand corner, and that is 3 job starts achieved every day. That doesn't only impact, I suppose, highlight the impact that we're making to the residents of South Lanarkshire in changing their lives, not just annually or monthly, but on a daily basis, and that's really significant. And it's an important point to highlight. Equally, as is the investment, the £5 million invested in local people as a charity. Obviously, any profits, we would repurpose them and we would invest them into the local community. And I will actually touch on an example of that later through the delivery of our Win What I Need project. In terms of our service delivery, we are an integral part of the services that are delivered as part of the local employability partnership, South Lanarkshire Works. And I will now hand you over to Douglas Hashigan, who will provide some further detail.
Thanks, Nicola. So just as I said at the start, I'm Douglas Hashigan, the Employability Manager with South Lanarkshire Council. And as members may be aware, there was a review and restructure of employability 2 years ago. So as of April this year, both youth employability, which previously sat in education, and the kind of adult side, which previously sat in finance and corporate, have been moved into community enterprise resources. And one of the kind of areas of responsibility that we have is working closely with Stephen and Nicola and the Roots to Work South team in terms of delivery of services. As Nicola touched on, the funding that we have from employability is primarily externally funded, either by Scottish or UK government, and is planned in partnership with the South Lanarkshire Local Employability Partnership, which involves kind of key stakeholders, including Department of Work and Pensions, Skills Development Scotland, the Council, South Lanarkshire College, VASLAN and other third sector organisations. And the way that we structure our services, we've had a bit of a review over the past couple of years, is around a whole range of kind of key priority groups. So the key priority groups are listed on the slide there in terms of young people the last 6 months at school, young people between the ages of 16 and 19, adults with barriers to employment, people with long-term health barriers, people with learning disabilities, and unemployed and low-waged parents. I suppose the kind of key for us that we deliver in-house within some of the programmes that are managed by the council, and likewise the programmes that are managed by Roots to Work South, is that kind of flexible and person-centred approach. So all the key priority groups that you have there have got an identified key worker who's responsible for supporting them to develop and deliver an individual action plan designed to either progress them into employment or into further training, and to take account of the kind of individual circumstances and barriers that they have. So I think over the past couple of years, we've been working increasingly closely with Roots to Work South to make sure that kind of support is joined up and there's flexibility across the programmes that we deliver and that Roots to Work South deliver on our behalf. Just a wee bit of a wider context as well. We fund and deliver the kind of key work service across the organisation, but we've also got a whole range of opportunities that young people and adults that are engaging with our programmes can take part in as part of their programme. And that ranges from volunteering opportunities to work placements and the programmes that are set out in there. We had a report went to Community Enterprise Resources yesterday, which kind of sets out in detail some of that provision, and encourage members, if they want to kind of find out more about some of those programmes, to have a look at that paper or get in touch with myself. Members may be aware from recent developments that there's a review planned to take place over the next couple of months of Routes to Work South and the kind of wider context of employability funding and the way that Routes to Work South is currently managed, which will be coming in front of members in the new year. And I'm going to just hand over to Nicola to take us through the rest of the slides.
Thank you, Douglas. At this point, I had hoped to share with you a brief video of our Cook and Learn initiative. It's a relatively new initiative that we've brought in to create new and innovative ways of engaging with people to bring them into mainstream employability services. The service itself has three very distinct elements. It has obviously a training cafe, whereby we provide employment opportunities for local people. We have a customised training programme, and we also have a pantry as part of that. Unfortunately, the technology wouldn't support it today. I've included the link, and what I will do is certainly circulate that link after today's meeting. But if you haven't had the opportunity to visit, I would encourage you to perhaps reach out to myself or Stephen, and we'd be more than happy to show you around and let you see the facility and see firsthand the fantastic work that we're doing. In terms of services and impact, Douglas has touched on it. They're wide and varied. All of our services, with exception obviously Fair Start Scotland, form part of South Lanarkshire Council's local employability partnership. We provide those services across all the different stages of the employability pipeline, and what I mean by that is through initial engagement, through to training interventions, to finally moving them into work, and then it's also about sustaining work, so it is about that in-work support piece, so as that hopefully those clients don't return to us. Okay. In terms of our adult employability services, it's predominantly aimed at those aged 18 plus, and as you can see, we've included an example of some of the barriers that we will look to address as part of the service delivery. We are, because of the change in the landscape, absolutely working with those furthest removed. So as I touched on earlier, it does require us to be innovative in the way in which that we can support clients, ensuring that there is bespoke interventions to help them move forward. Additionally, as part of our service delivery, we are also involved with Douglas's team, and we support youth employability service delivery. That is predominantly in the form of group training delivery, but there is an element of one-to-one support that's provided to those participants. Those training groups cover things like personal development through to certificated training, and it's predominantly working with kids who either don't have a potential school leaver destination or post-school are unsure of their options and where they want to go next. We also, as part of our service, provide access to a dedicated youth hub where those young people can drop in and get support at any point. I think it's important to highlight that the delivery of all these services contribute to the overall shared objectives, which I've highlighted there, which ultimately contribute not only to the achievement of South Lanarkshire Council's strategic plans, but also in terms of government policy. So we've got things like reducing poverty, obviously things like child poverty, and that links into improving school leaver destinations. These are all really important, and as I say, continue to underpin the delivery of our services. In terms of the future of employability, I mentioned that the landscape has changed, and therefore, as I said, we need to be more innovative, more creative, and we need to look at how do we reach those customers that aren't necessarily accessing benefits and going through traditional methods. And that's where I've referenced things like increase and expand pathways and routes into work, and that's where initiatives such as Cook and Learn, which I've touched on, come into play, because employment isn't the first thing that we speak to them about. It's really about engaging them, understanding them, you know, do they need support in terms of health and well-being? It's about putting those interventions in first at a very early stage before then introducing them to employability and to consider the world of work. The creation of new and additional services, again, I've touched on it. We have created this year, by reinvesting our profits, a new service called Win, What I Need, which is currently being piloted in 2 distinct areas of South Lanarkshire at the moment, and that's about engaging with residents at a community level. It's about providing quite a lot of health and wellbeing interventions. What we're seeing is significant increases in poor mental health, so it's about providing interventions to help them overcome that, to establish peer support networks, and then as they gradually start to build their confidence, is then to transition them into mainstream employability services. And that's where the reference to the local engagement comes. There definitely needs to be more at a local level, and I'm sure as members you will appreciate that the wards you serve are all very different in terms of their needs and their wants. In terms of continued investment in infrastructure, that's very important, not just insofar as meeting the needs of the clients that we are supporting to ensure that our facility is fit for purpose, but it also goes much further than that, and it's something we've been doing for a number of years and positively contributes to the sustainable development and climate change strategy for the council. So it's that whole steer towards net zero, it's about reducing emissions, it's a looking about energy savings, different things like that, and that's something that we would look to continue as part of our service delivery. As I touched on, the landscape has significantly changed, and therefore we need to invest more in skills and training. I think it's quite apparent that with the jobs that are available within the labour market at the moment, probably one of the biggest challenges that we're coming across is that people don't necessarily have the certifications or the right training, and that's where we come into play, and that's where, you know, I've referenced things such as the £500,000 investment every year for the last 10 years in the participants, and that's really important to give them the best possible opportunity of taking up these employment opportunities and reinvesting in their local economy. We have, as an organisation, over the years developed robust relationships with partners, and we recognise as an organisation that more can be achieved by working collaboratively, and we're keen to continue to develop that, both in terms of with our council colleagues and obviously other community partners, so as that we're taking a more cohesive, joined-up approach. And in terms of our development with employers, we've developed ongoing relationships with thousands of employers over the years, both in terms of the South Lanarkshire and the wider Glasgow kind of travel to work area. And now we're keen to further improve that, because it's not just about what we can do in terms of incentivising employers to provide opportunities, but it's equally about how we can work together and what they can potentially bring to it, and that's certainly something that we would be keen to explore as we continue to move forward in terms of our service delivery. I think, as I've said already, the landscape has significantly changed. We've evolved as a company who has been in existence for almost 20 years. We've evolved with the various trends to ensure that these clients continue to be supported, and we will continue to do that for the benefit of South Lanarkshire residents. I have taken the opportunity, obviously, to share, and I think it will get shared out, obviously, throughout the duration of the meeting, just touching on our services, our annual impact report for 23-24. I thought it would prove useful, which we've just recently published, and that will let you see the statistics and what the achievements have been over the last year. It will also let you see case studies from clients, which I think is particularly important for you to see firsthand the impact that our service delivery continues to make, as I've said, to South Lanarkshire residents every single day. We would, before I finish up, we would actively invite you to reach out to us on the back of today's meeting, and if you would like to see firsthand any of our services in action or meet with any of the participants, please just either reach out to myself or Stephen. But finally, do you have any questions?
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so we will open it up to questions. I'll start with a quick question, if that's okay. I think if I caught you right, Nicola, it was win what I need. So where is the pilot taking place? What areas and how long is the pilot running for? Just a wee bit more detail, if that's okay.
Thank you. The pilot is currently being run just now in Rutherglen and also in the Blantyre area, and is expected to run until the end of March. It is our intention that by simply being able to demonstrate the impact, that we should hopefully be able to then expand that as we go into next year's service delivery to include some of the other areas within the local authority.
Great, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Margaret, could you?
Where those come from?
It's a broad mixture. A lot of our referrals come through DWP, come through the relationships that we have with other partners and other local community organisations, and a significant proportion, probably around 30% or so, come from word of mouth, and obviously the social media activity. If you've not had the opportunity to have a look, I would encourage you to go online and check out our Facebook or LinkedIn pages.
Sorry, is there no structural referral pathways, you know, for example, from social work or employment agents or job centres? Is there no kind of structural referrals?
Yes, there is. So as part of the delivery of the LEP, there is a structured process in place, and obviously I mentioned the referrals from DWP. That is a very structured process, and obviously from council, obviously we're constantly promoting in terms of internal departments, and they can simply link in, because we are an arm's length organisation, link in directly to us rather than going through the structured pathway as you've suggested.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, are we happy to agree the reports? Great, thank you. Thank you for coming along today. Thanks for the continued good work. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to item 4 on the agenda, and that's Education Scotland report from Rutherglen High. We're joined by the head teacher, Richard Miller, and Alex MacLeod, Quality Improvement Officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, councillors. My name's Alex MacLeod, and I'm the Quality Link Officer for Rutherglen High School. I'm here today with the recently appointed head teacher, Mr. Richard Miller, who has been head teacher at Rutherglen since August this year. The purpose of this report is to advise of the outcome of the inspection of Rutherglen High School by Education Scotland inspectors. In June this year, the school was the focus of a short model inspection by His Majesty's inspectors, and paragraph 4.1 of the committee report takes us through the areas of the school's work that were evaluated using Scottish Education's national quality framework, How Good Is Our School For? Those areas are learning, teaching and assessment, and raising attainment and achievement, along with a review of safeguarding procedures. Rutherglen High School is situated on a joint campus with Cathkin High School. The school was newly built in 2010 as part of SLC's Schools Modernisation Programme. At the time of inspection, the school roll was 118 pupils. The school provides an education for children and young people with severe and complex learning needs. During the 4 days in the school, the inspectors observed learning, spoke with groups of pupils and staff, and met with parents and members of the local community. The inspection report for Rutherglen High School was published on the 24th of September 2024. Inspectors evaluated learning and teaching and assessment as weak. Their outcome on raising attainment and achievement in the school was evaluated as satisfactory. Paragraph 4.2 highlights the key strengths of the school as noted in the report. In summary, these are: across the school, most young people are confident, enthusiastic, and keen to express their views. They share their work and achievements proudly. Young people at the senior phase are achieving well through volunteering, participating in work placements, and visiting local skills projects. They are gaining confidence and developing resilience. Staff work appropriately to help prepare young people for life after school. Almost all young people move on successfully to adult learning, college, or further training when they leave school. Paragraph 4.3 references areas for improvement, which have been included in the school's improvement plan for this session. Senior leaders and staff need to create a strong, welcoming school culture based on positive relationships between themselves, young people, parents, and partners. Senior leaders should improve their approaches to communicating with the school community, ensuring all communication is regular, clear, and effective. Staff need to provide all young people with appropriately challenging and purposeful learning activities throughout the school day. They should ensure that learning activities take account of the strengths and needs of all learners. Senior leaders and staff need to improve approaches to promoting positive relationships and behaviour across the school. In doing so, they should adopt consistent approaches to support young people displaying distressed behaviour. The school should continue to raise young people's attainment across the broad general education and senior phase. Senior leaders need to develop more robust processes to monitor school performance with a clear focus on improving young people's attainment, achievement and well-being. Inspectors have indicated that they will return within a year of the publication of the report to look at how improvements have been taken forward. I'm now going to hand over to Richard, who will share his own reflections on the content of the report and what steps he has taken to move the school forward in the short time he has been head teacher. Richard.
Thank you, Alex, and good afternoon, councillors. My name is Richard Miller. I am the newly appointed head teacher at Rutherglen High School. This has been a lifelong career ambition, and I feel honoured and privileged to be in this role, driving the school improvement and contributing to my local community. I have lived in Rutherglen with my family for the last 20 years and feel passionately about the importance of schools as drivers of social justice, equity, and importantly for my school, inclusion within and out with schools. My 3 girls attend or have attended amazing schools in South Lanarkshire. I started my new post as head teacher of Rutherglen High School in August, having previously worked in Argyll and Bute and Glasgow City Council. I have worked with inclusion staff to develop an improvement plan in preparation for the return visit of Education Scotland inspectors in and around June 2025. This plan addresses the areas for improvement identified by the inspectors when they visited the school in June 2024. These have just been identified by Alex earlier. So we are working closely with pupils, teachers and parents as well as all other stakeholders towards 4 strategic improvement priorities. These priorities are as follows. 1. Improve the quality of learning, teaching and assessment across the school. 2. Improve pupil attainment and achievement. 3. Improve our approaches to wellbeing, equality and inclusion to meet the needs of all learners at Rutherglen High School. And 4. Improve our curriculum structure, develop a clear and ambitious progression pathway for all of our learners. In addition to these priorities, we have undertaken an urgent overhaul of the child protection protocols within our school to ensure that all of our young people's well-being and safety is a priority. To take forward our improvement priorities, we have created a working group model. These working groups include all stakeholders, staff, pupils and partners, a key improvement priority advised by His Majesty's Inspectorate. These working groups also have a senior member of staff as a link to myself and have clear priorities for action. To go through the 4 priorities in a little bit more detail. So the first one, improve the quality of learning and teaching and assessment across the school. So the actions that we have agreed is to update the school's learning and teaching policy and our practices with reference to national and South Lanarkshire guidelines, referencing also the work and theories of Bruce Robertson and his lesson evaluation toolkit and powering up your pedagogy. We are going to support teachers to plan high quality learning experiences which refer to these benchmarks, and we need to ensure that they're robust and visible, especially in relation to our complex learners. We need to embed the UNCRC articles into all of our lessons. We need to embed the language of DYW, and meta skills into our lessons, and we need to embed the sustainable goals also into our lessons. 2, to improve pupil attainment, achievement, and also identify individualised learner journeys. We have an existing reporting tool called B Squared. We need to improve our school's use of that to ensure that our young people have clear learning targets. We need to upskill our office staff, teachers and SLT to appropriately use systems for SQA and CMIS and follow these procedures and protocols. We are developing individualised learner pathways for every one of our 113 learners, and we are trying to create a visual diagram for all of our learners, their parents and carers. We are developing an attendance policy in line with South Lanarkshire guidelines. We are developing a role of a newly appointed homeschool link worker to support this attendance and engagement. And we are developing a leadership academy to support opportunities for pupils in life in school and out with school. So the third improvement priority is to improve our approaches to wellbeing, equality and inclusion to meet the needs of our learners at Rutherglen High School. So again, with reference to national guidance, South Lanarkshire operational procedures, we are improved and already have improved our school's child protection and safeguarding policy. We have ensured that all staff and visitors are aware of this policy and adhere to our procedures. There is a monthly meeting with senior leaders to discuss child protection and safeguarding trends in the school, and this impacts on actions of the school. We have also improved staff awareness of South Lanarkshire's PPRUDB policy, which is about behavioural and relationship policies within the school, and all staff have been trained. We've updated our anti-bullying policy and procedures using new guidance from the Scottish Government that's just been published and following South Lanarkshire Council guidance. We are continuing our collaboration with a range of therapeutic partners, one being Inscape Therapies, to develop music therapy for our young people. We are ensuring staff have a robust PRDs and continuous learning to support the development of communication support for our young people. We are developing more partnerships with our local community to support our people attainment, achievement, wellbeing and outcomes. And we are again embedding UNCRC articles into this work. And for the fourth and final priority, we are improving our curriculum structure to develop a clear and ambitious progression pathway for our learners. So we are currently working on establishing an ambitious and inclusive curriculum that involves all stakeholders, and we've got a curriculum working group tasked to do that. We're developing our curriculum structure to consider the 4 contexts of learning and embarking on project-based learning tasks and opportunities, much more for outdoor learning and learning in the community. We are creating progression pathways for all subjects and experiences. We are creating a timetable for next session which will reflect this new curricular planning structure. We are engaging with the SEQF Ambassador Programme to broaden our curricular offer to our young people. And again, we're embedding the UNCR articles through this curriculum design. There's a skills focus throughout it, and we are ensuring sustainable goals are referenced. As you can see, we have a busy road with many challenges ahead. However, there are also real opportunities to improve the school and the outcomes of each one of our learners. I'm confident that we'll be able to show our school community, our pupils, our parents, our partners and our staff, alongside our visiting inspectors, that we have made significant improvements across the whole school when they return in June. I'll pass back to Alex for final remarks.
Thanks, Richard. We're happy to respond to any comments or questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll open it up. Any questions? Robert?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the report as well. Clearly, there are some challenges that have been identified in the report. I wanted really to ask two things. One is that an inspection of a school like Rutherglen High with complex learning needs and all that must be a significantly different operation to an inspection of a mainstream school, if you like. And I wonder if you make any observations about whether that's how that influences, interacts with the way in which the inspectors deal with it. Secondly, the things that came out for me from the report really were, first of all, an issue of consistency across a number of areas in the way things were dealt with. And secondly, the lack of adequate response to individual children's and young people's learning needs. Now, I think I'd be right in saying, were I not, that in a school like this, most or all of the children will have individual, I forget what they're called, individual education plans, isn't it?
Our phrase is additional support plans.
Additional support plans, absolutely. Should that not be, in a sense, the start point for that kind of thing? And the fact of the mismatch, if you like, between the two is really quite important. Final point, if I mean, just an incidental one, I think it touches on the lack of a home economics offer in S5 and S6, and I don't think you mentioned that. Maybe I missed that. Is that something that you're able to take on board?
That was mentioned within the actual report itself, Councillor Brown. You're right. Well, I take the first. Well, I just work through 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So, in terms of the inspectors, I think the only comment I would make is that the inspectors that come to an inspection of a special school, a school for additional support needs, are, for the most part, inspectors who have come through as teachers and senior managers in the same kinds of schools. So they have a very good and clear understanding of what they should be expecting to see within such schools. So we actually, Richard and I have met since the inspection in August with the lead inspector and one of the other inspectors who was a head teacher of a special school in Glasgow. And that was part of the process for Richard to formulate his additional support plan. It was to clarify for him, because he wasn't part of the actual inspection. He was appointed after. It was to clarify for him what the key areas for the inspectors were. So in terms of the kind of a comment for it, Councillor Brown, it would be just to say that we're happy that the inspectors had a clear understanding of what was going on within the school. Mm-hmm. Secondly, consistency. You're absolutely right. Every child within Rutherglen High, as in within any ASN school or base within our council, would have an additional support plan which would be reviewed annually and very often termly to look at particular areas of development, that is literacy, numeracy and health and well-being. And we would expect our teachers and our managers within school to work to those targets. And they should be individual. That was one of the shortfalls within one area of the school, which was what we call the complex learning classes. It was too generic, and it needs to be more focused on the individual children. Would you say that's fair, Richard?
Yeah, I would say that was fair. That was the indication from the inspectors when I met them. That has been a key focus of the work that I've been doing, and I've been asking my senior leadership team to do. To pick up on maybe the home economics question there, Councillor Brown, some of the reasons why some of the subjects aren't available for some of our learners is to do with staffing levels within our school and I suppose the accessibility of home economics educators. We don't have enough home economics teachers. And so we do have two. We've got one person who comes in as a supply teacher who loves working in our school on a Monday, but she's retired and only coming in as a favour, to be honest. And the other person we've got only works 3 days a week, and we find it very difficult to recruit home economics teachers. So that is an issue there. We have tried to address that. This year, our senior school do have home economics on their timetable. However, with the curriculum restructures that we're trying to put in place for next session, and that's, as you can imagine, a lot of work, there's a lot of consultation and a lot of work with our young people and partners. We will have a more robust curriculum offer for our young people for next session, where there'll be real choices within that for our senior phase learners.
Thanks very much. I'm grateful for those responses. I mean, clearly there's a number of challenges to be met here. I go to the parent council fairly frequently in Rutherglen High, and I've always found it a welcoming school in that sort of sense. I'm very much looking forward to seeing the success of your endeavours over the next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Okay, Katie.
Thanks, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much, both of you, for coming along to speak to us today. Richard, I know you've obviously only been there a short time, but it was really good to hear about all of the steps you're already taking. I've been on your side of an inspection before, and I know it can be a very stressful and difficult experience to go through for staff. I know that there's been quite a lot of discussion about support for staff through some trade unions ahead of the changes to Ofsted inspections in England, which is very much focused on making sure that they were getting any pastoral support which they needed afterwards. I know that our QIOs provide a lot of support to schools before, during and after inspections, and thanks to Alex and the team for all that work. And obviously yourself, Richard, and the rest of your SMT will have your own systems as well of sort of formal and informal support for people. But I'd just like to ask, Richard, if you think that as a council we're doing enough to signpost members of staff to sources of support, if that would be useful for them, or is that something that we could do better and that you'd find that helpful and your staff would find that helpful?
Yeah, my I suppose answer to that is I think we have done. The council were very, very visible when I started my role, and were very, very supportive of me. I'd like to thank Alex formally here for the support he personally gave me when I started. And the staff have been given quite a lot of support too. And the work that we've done with the Inspectorate with regards to the wording of the report was very, very important, because we had conversations with the Inspectorate about that, because we wanted to be clear that this could have quite a negative impact on some of our teachers and our senior leaders, and we wanted to make sure that it was a shared, I suppose, responsibility within it, that I had an opportunity as a foundation to go forward, that this was a collaborative and shared endeavour for improvement. So, and I think the council were behind myself talking to the inspectors also about that, and I do think that the staff team particularly felt supported. I do, however, think there's still work to be done in that, because it is, to use a local phrase, a bit of a dunt to be given that kind of inspection report. And staff are continually needing, at the moment, to be, I suppose, supported, nurtured by myself as an individual. And the approach I've taken, as you can see through the working group model, is to really reflect everyone having a role in our improvement, and not to go through the blame culture, and to bring people with me and to build a culture where we're all working together towards a shared vision. So it's taken a little bit of time though with that. It's not a quick fix, so it's going to be a marathon more than a sprint. But I'm keen by the time the inspectors come back, we'll have lots to show them.
That's great. Thank you very much. It's really great to hear about your recognition of how that must feel for staff, and thanks to both yourself and to Alex to make sure that support for people is in place. I think it's so important.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, are we happy to agree the reports? Thank you for coming along today, and thank you for a very honest presentation. You've certainly been very busy since you took up your post in August. You detailed some of the plans that you've got in place, and good luck with the implementation, and we look forward to a future update in due course. Thanks again. Take care. Okay, we'll now move to item 5 on the agenda, and that's an update from Graham Booth, and it's the Rutherglen Common Good Fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. The purpose of this report is to provide an update on the Rutherglen Common Good account. And Section 3 gives the background, with Section 3.4 outlining for information that the Rutherglen Common Good account holds cash balances only and it doesn't hold physical assets. In Sections 4 and 5, there's details of the management and administration of the Common Good funds, including the revenue monitoring, preparation of the annual accounts and reporting to committee, as well as the role of elected members in that process. At Section 6, detailing the financial position for the year end to the 31st of March 2024, with the audited accounts for the Rutherglen Common Good forming part of the Council's audited accounts, and they were approved at the Risk and Audit Scrutiny Committee on 24th of September 2024. If I take members to Appendix 1, it shows at the end of 2023-24, the balance invested in South Lanarkshire Council's loans fund for Rutherglen is £127,000. At Section 6.3, we're noting that there's been little in the way of expenditure incurred by the Rutherglen Common Good account, other than the charge for administration, and this is offset by the investment income we received for the balances. And Section 7 provides information on the consultations on common good assets, and there are currently no consultations on new lease arrangements or change of use. I would then refer committee back to recommendation in Section 2 of the report that the background information and update on the Rutherglen Common Good account be noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Okay, do we have any questions or comments? No. Okay. Thank you for that update, Graham. I think it's a report that we're quite familiar with, so thanks for giving us an update. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to items for decision, and it's the community grant applications. We have 2 applications for consideration. Do we have any questions or comments on the grants? Okay, thank you. I'll move them then. If I could have a seconder, please. Thanks, Margaret. Thank you. Okay, we have no items of urgent business, so thank you for your attendance today, and I'll see you all soon. Just as an addition,